let's start.
Okay. So hi everyone, and welcome and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and grandmothers there. It's great to have you. My name is Rafi Schulman, and I'm one of the founders of Olim Advisors, and I'm here with my partner, Laura Itzhaki.
Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar. We're so excited to see so many people looking into making Aliyah, asking questions, moving forward, even with the corona going on. It's incredible. Kol hakavod. We're really here to help with any questions you may have to guide you along the way. We do have everyone muted so everyone can hear us clearly. At the end of the webinar, there will be an opportunity to ask questions. And if you have further questions, you can always email us and we'll be happy to answer. And we're going to put up a quick question.
Yeah, so we'll start with a poll in a moment. Just one of the things that we'll talk about at the end of the webinar, so make sure that you stay through the end, are some exclusive discounts that you can take advantage of. We know that cost is a big issue for a lot of people, so there's some partners that have been very gracious in offering discounts, and so you want to wait until the end. What I want to do at this moment is just take 30 seconds, a minute, and just get a sense of where everybody is in their Aliyah plan. So I'm going to put up a poll here. And if you can just take a moment and just choose the one that more accurately reflects your state, that'd be great. That'd just help us know the audience, and we want to make sure that we can, tailor the information to everybody.
We'll just wait a moment for everyone to get their answer in, and then we'll continue.
Okay, thanks everybody, appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close down the poll and we'll get started. Okay, so the first topic we want to talk about is how to save money. It's something that is on the forefront of everyone's mind. Making Aliyah can be expensive, and there are definitely a number of things that you can do to save some money. So first of all, let's talk about shipping. That's typically one of the big first expenses that most people have. And there's a couple of things that you can keep in mind. First of all, you really want to think twice about things that you're shipping. So if it's a big piece of furniture, or if it's a car, or if it's something that you really don't need or can be expensive shipping, then perhaps you should leave it behind. What we tell people also is keep in mind that the home that you're moving into in Israel most likely will be smaller than the home that you have wherever you are in the States, in the UK, South Africa, around the world. And so you really want to make sure that you only ship things that you absolutely need, and that can really help you save money when you're shipping the things. The other thing to keep in mind is that when you get to Israel, you'll need a car. And so some people want to ship a car, and we in general recommend not to do it unless it meets a certain scenario and criteria. But in general, most people that make Aliyah do not ship a car. And so when you get to, there's two things to keep in mind. First of all, what we recommend and what I did is I bought a used car. So I bought a used 7-seater for me and my family. I was about 3 years old. And by doing that, I was able to save about 40,000 shekel. New cars are extremely expensive in Israel. And so you can get a very good car in very good condition. A couple years old, mine had about 70,000 kilometers, still in good shape. And I saved a lot of money by doing that. So that's one thing, is that once you settle in and you're ready to buy a car, definitely talk to us and we can kind of give you some advice, because you can save a lot of money doing that.
I just wanted to give you faith that you do get advice on Oleh Hadash if you're on Oleh Hadash. And so a lot of times what we do for our clients is we sit with them and discuss what kind of car they may want, what the price would be if they're paying with their rights as an Oleh Hadash, if that's their status. And then we take the car and we look, well, if it's 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, because the prices here drop very, very quickly. And a lot of times people find that it is worth it for them not to take the Oleh Hadash right and to buy a car that's a year or 2 old or 3 years old. It's just more affordable for them. So that's an excellent tip to have.
And the other point to keep in mind with the car is, do you need 2 cars? So again, most people are used to having 2 cars, and in some situations you do need one. But for example, in my situation, I was working in Tel Aviv, I was taking public transportation, and we didn't need a second car. We got away with just 1 car. And so definitely at the beginning, buy 1 car. We recommend buying a used car. You also have leasing options, which is relatively new in Israel. So that's another option that you can consider. So that's buying a car. The next thing is when it comes to your home. Should you rent? Should you buy? And of course, a lot of this depends on your personal situation, but in general, we recommend that people rent for two reasons. First of all, because from a budgetary point of view, unlike the States and a lot of places in the States and around the world, your monthly mortgage payment in the States is similar or could be similar to your monthly rental. And so you're not really saving that much by renting. In Israel, that's not the case. In most cases, your rent will be a lot cheaper than your monthly mortgage rate, monthly mortgage payment. And in addition to that, you have to put a significant amount of capital here in Israel. Depending on the bank and your situation, it can be 30% or more. And so you need a lot of money up front for the down payment, and your mortgage payments can be a lot higher. So we recommend to rent, at least for the first year, to keep your expenses down. The other thing is, just from a practical point of view, a lot of times people move. So you land in an area, in a neighborhood of a city, and maybe you want to move to a different city, or maybe you want to move to a different neighborhood. Renting for at least the first year, gives you that flexibility. So it lowers your cost and also gives you the flexibility. The next thing to keep in mind is, if you are going to buy a house, or when you get to the point when you want to buy a house, I would strongly recommend that you go with a mortgage broker. This is something that I did, and a couple of things to keep in mind. First of all, the mortgage process here is a lot more complex than in the States. There's a lot more options, a lot more variables, and so a mortgage broker, right? And it's in Hebrew, and the mortgage broker will go through and explain the process for you. But even more importantly, they will help you negotiate. And the banks here, in a way, are like the shuk mindset, the shuk environment, where you're negotiating back and forth. And I did this a number of times. And using the mortgage broker that I use, and I'd be happy to share his contact information with you if you want, just email me. Using this mortgage broker, I was able to lower my my overall payment of my mortgage by over 50,000 shekels. So over the life of the mortgage, I was able to decrease it by 50,000 shekel. And so it's a very, very big and effective way of lowering your cost, and it's something that I can talk to you further about, and you're welcome to reach out to me. Another thing that you can do is more a practical advice. So we believe that learning Hebrew is really important. If you can do that beforehand, that's great. But when you get there's a number of Ulpan programs that you can take. One is offered by the government, and then there's also private programs. What's really interesting about the private programs is, about 2 years ago, I think in 2018, the government launched a new program where they would reimburse you for the cost of these private programs. And so the way that it works is you pay up front, and typically it's about 7,500 shekel, and then you will get reimbursed by the government over the life of the course. By the time you're done, you'll get 100% of your money back. So you're saving 7,500 shekel on something that is extremely valuable and will really help you, acclimate and learn the language. So
just to explain, there's two types of ulpanim, and actually, if you're on a Chadash, you're eligible for both. There's the ulpan, the one that was always around, that you come, and when you go to Misad HaKlita, the Ministry of Absorption, you get a voucher for it if that's what you opt for, and you can take that ulpan. You have up until 10 years to take that ulpan. And as Rafi says, this new private ulpanim that opened up, that the government actually subsidized, is something you can take on top of, or not at the same time, but you can take that as well. You do have to pay out of pocket the 7,500 shekel, but then as long as you follow the criteria, which is being in 80% of the classes and taking a test at the end of the ulpan, you get back that full 7,500 shekels. So you have the opportunity of doing two types of ulpanim and really getting them for free.
Another way to save money is when you buy appliances. So typically in Israel, when you rent, when you buy, the houses come bare bones. So, you think about it, right? Not even light fixtures. And you think about it in Israel, in the States or other countries, you get appliances here. Unless you get a special deal, or the owner or the landlord will leave something for you, typically they're empty. And so you need to buy these appliances. And so what we recommend, in a way to really make sure that you're not getting ripped off, to put it bluntly, is to work with an authorized importer, somebody who's reputable. We have a great partnership with an appliance store that, again, we'd be happy to share with you, that will make sure that you get a good deal, and he will actually give out a discount for our clients. And so it's a way for you to save a few thousand shekel when you go ahead and buy appliances.
Himself many years ago, so he really wants to help him. He's very honest, competitive prices. And like you said, a legal importer, which is very important, which people don't always realize when they go into any store, that they might go into a store that is not legally importing, and meaning that the warranties are not anything that you can, go back to and say, hey, I need help with X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So definitely get that information, and they can help you.
Another thing to do that will help you save some money is getting a loyalty or credit card from one of the supermarket chains. It's similar to the Costco card that you have, or BJ's, one of the big supermarket chains. Here, there's a couple of advantages. First of all, with a lot of them, you'll get some money up front. So when I signed up, I got 350 shekel right off the bat. When I got my card, I used it. It just went against my first purchase, and that's free money, which I'm always a big fan of. If somebody's giving you money, you might as well take it. The other benefit is that there are discounts that you can get as you just continue shopping throughout the year. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that some of these credit cards do have a monthly fee after the first year, typically. So you want to just make sure that,
Be careful
yeah,
to know what the credit card is.
correct. You're saving more than you're spending, but that's just a nice, easy way of saving some money.
Right.
Another tip is something that's a little bit more specific to people, to a certain group of people, and it really refers to a special tax credit that you can get if you have children who need special education. And so there's a program that you can participate in where you can get a tax credit if you qualify. And this is something that a lot of people aren't familiar with. In fact, a lot of Israelis aren't aware of this. And we recently just helped somebody who's been living in Israel for a number of years who wasn't aware of this, and we were able to get them back thousands of shekel because.
A lot of money, retroactive in several years.
Correct.
So it's important to keep that in mind.
Absolutely. And then the last tip that we're going to cover today is just if you have a baby within the first year, the government has a little subsidy from Mishrad HaKlita, and you can talk to your local office and we can share some more information. But again, if the government's giving you money, might as well take it. And so this is a nice little perk. So these are just a few of the ways that you can save money. And I'm going to hand it over to you, Laura, to talk about the next topic.
Okay, so I'm going to discuss the healthcare in Israel. With the corona, even before the corona, people really wanted to understand what the national healthcare is about, what's covered, what private insurance is all about. So I'll give you a quick explanation, and then in a few weeks, we're going to have another webinar with an expert, Efat Dutkevich, in healthcare that will give us real details about everything. So when we're discussing the national healthcare, every citizen of Israel is under the healthcare and gets to choose one of the 4 kupot. It's Maccabi, Clalit, Mouchedet, or Leumit. And you actually do that when you come into the country, you come to the airport, and you decide which one of the 4 you want to choose. So people ask us all the time, which one do you choose? What's the best option? So the number 1 answer for that is geography. Depending on the city, yeshuv, wherever you're going to be living, we do the research, we make sure to ask what is the strongest kuppah there, meaning what kuppah has the most option for doctors. Sometimes it could be 1 kuppah, 2 kuppot, and then we could ask who has more doctors that speak your language, speak English, so you'll be comfortable going to the pediatrician, the family doctor that is speaking English. This is very, very important. Now, in this kuppot, there are different levels. So again, people ask us, so what level should I be in? So Efat will get into this more in detail, but basically there are a few criteria that you might think about being in a higher level. If you're older, it's a good option. A woman that's pregnant, kids that need braces. My daughter needed braces, speech therapy, OT, PT. And again, you can ask us specific questions and we'll be happy to advise you with that. Something that's very important to know for all of us. The national health care covers everybody. As long as you're an Israeli citizen, doesn't matter what age you are, and if you have any pre-existing condition, you are covered. That is something that's so important. There is something called a basket, a medical basket, and it shows what actually is covered, what medicine is covered for all of us, what therapy is covered for all of us. So once we see what's in the basket, then people ask, so why would you need private insurance on top of the health insurance, the national health insurance? Like my family has Maccabi, and on top of that, we also have a private insurance. So private insurance covers things that are not in the basket. So it could cover medicine that's not included in the basket. It can cover treatments and surgeries, transplants, surgeries in another country that you may want to do. All these are different reasons why you would want to take private insurance. To have the private insurance, you do have to be an Israeli citizen, but If you have a pre-existing condition, you usually will not be accepted to private insurance. And also ages 65 and older, many times they won't accept it. Depends on the different companies, and it's important to ask them. And again, we will go into this further with Efrat Dutkevich. But those are the two main healthcare packages or healthcares that are in this country. There's a national healthcare that we're all covered under, and there's a private. Now, just to give an idea, because people ask all the time, how much does a private insurance cost? So I'm saying for me personally, we're a family of 7, 2 adults and 5 kids, and we pay less than 300 shekel a month for private insurance. Again, everyone's looking for different coverages, but I just wanted to give sort of an idea that you understand what we're talking about. It's not thousands of shekel, it's not huge amounts of money. To me, it was very important that we had it. And again, you can ask us personally, and we can also refer you to Efrat, who's an excellent broker, and she can give you more information. Rafi, Bakasha, let's discuss making Aliyah with kids.
So this is a big one. This is a big topic, and there's so many different things that go into this. We just wanted to go over a few different tips and advice and share some of our experience. So when my wife and I came, we came with 4 kids. Our oldest kid at the time was 10. And Laura and I typically, when we guide people and give them some advice, we tell them that 10, 11 is more or less the line where kids will adjust quickly and it's an easier transition. Once you start getting a little older, it becomes more challenging. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't make Aliyah if your kids are older, and we have a lot of clients that have, and they're very happy, and that's something that definitely is on a case-by-case basis. But just if you're thinking about making Aliyah in the future, 2 years, 3 years down the road, and you have an option to come sooner and everything kind of lines up and you come before your kids are older, it just makes the experience more manageable. Right. From an academic point of view and from a social point of view, when you think, right. And when you think about also when you're 10 years old, when a kid's 10 years old, that's 5th grade. And typically in Israel, kids move into a new school in 7th grade. So if you come in 5th grade, the kid has a couple of years to adjust. And then when they step into 7th grade, which typically is a big jump up in terms of academic and socially, it's a big step. So they're much more comfortable. So again, just a guideline to keep in mind. The other point of advice is to learn Hebrew as soon as possible. And I made a mistake because I grew up in Israel years ago and I speak Hebrew fluently. But when we were living in the States, I didn't really speak to my kids as much as I should have. And so when they came here, the Hebrew was okay from school, but it wasn't as good as it could have been. And so if you speak Hebrew, or if you have the time and the ability to introduce your kids to and expose your kids to Hebrew, that's great. It could be formal online programs, and we can introduce you to some that are really good, or it can just be more fun. It could be going to YouTube and watching different Israeli shows, and there's so much content these days in Hebrew. I think that's something that if you're planning ahead and you have a year, 2 years, if you can do that, it will really make a world of difference. The other thing to keep in mind is the level of education. And one of the things that Laura and I feel strongly about is that you can't come to Israel with your lifestyle, whether you're coming from the States, Canada, the UK, South Africa, Australia, anywhere in the world. It's going to be a different lifestyle, and that also means that the education system is going to be different. And so, yes, you want your kid to be in a good system and good schools, and some schools are better than others, and it's something that you can definitely look for. But at the same time, and as importantly, you want your kids to be happy. You want them to enjoy this, and you want them to be social and really to thrive in Israel. And so when you're looking at schools, again, the level of education is important, don't get me wrong, but you also want to look for that social aspect. Maybe, right, exactly. For example, we moved to a neighborhood that has a lot of Anglos, and for our kids, it was perfect. Some people want to move to an area where there's more Israelis that want their kids to kind of be more around Israelis, and that's good too. So just things to keep in mind as you're planning for your Aliyah with kids. Education is something that definitely is important. Another thing is to keep in mind when you're looking at schools that your neighborhood school might not be the best school or might not be the most appropriate school. So for example, in our situation, one of our kids ended up moving to a different school that was just 5 minutes away, and ended up being a perfect solution for her for a number of reasons. So when you're looking at schools, and again, we can help you, we have a lot of experience with this, we can help you look at schools in your neighborhood, and maybe look for other schools that might be more suitable, and then it's something that just
options are out of the box.
Correct.
It's not necessarily in your neighborhood that might fit your kids' needs. Exactly. And then you figure out how to get them in, and if it's a better fit for them.
Right. And we can do a lot of that legwork for you even before you get here. Another thing that is very prevalent here is getting tutors. And again, there's in more cases than not, there's going to be a language gap, there's going to be an educational gap. And so what we did is we got a lot of private tutors to help the kids. And so it, helps them with the language, helps them catch up, gives them that one-on-one attention. Because one of the things to keep in mind is that the class size in Israel tend to be bigger, right? And so they might not get as much one-on-one attention, as personalized attention as they might get, or as what you might be used to right now. So tutors is a great way to give them that attention. And what's really nice about the systems here in Israel and the schools is that a lot of the tutoring also the schools provide. So for example, we had a bat shirut, which is a girl that's going through the army service and providing kind of national service. And so a lot of schools have access to these individuals that will come into the schools and give one-on-one support and social support. So that's good. There are others, other ways that the schools will provide support for your kids, and it really depends on the school, the municipality, and the setup. And so that's something to keep in mind is the private tutoring where you're paying out of pocket, but then there's also a lot of support that the schools do provide.
And also the reality is the schools here, they have less funding. The school day is much shorter. People sometimes get upset that they have to pay for tutoring, but in all honesty, I was paying so much money in the States for my kids, even when we were in kindergarten. So, the amount of money that we're paying here for school, so then to kind of add in the tutors, was totally okay. We also used tutors that were younger kids. It was more fun for our kids themselves, and it was also a cheaper option. High school kids, middle school kids that would tutor our kids. So that's also a way to get some help, but maybe not as expensive as a private teacher, let's say.
Right. Also keep in mind that the school day tends to be a lot shorter, especially in the elementary school, right, than what you might be accustomed to. And so the kids have a lot of time. They can come home, they can have lunch, they can relax, they can play, and then you have some time for tutoring. And another thing to keep in mind with the short day is that there's a lot of extracurricular activities. And it's something that we really strongly recommend. We did it for our kids, whether it's sports, music, chess. I know a friend of mine who sort of got into a kind of a law program where they teach them about, being a lawyer and going through that whole mock trial. And really, there's some very interesting things. Of course, there's high tech and technology and robots. And so it really accomplishes a few things. First of all, it keeps the kids occupied and being productive. And also from a social point of view, it's a great way to meet people. And so that's another one of, another tip, another advice that we give people is, try and set that up. And you can do a lot of that perhaps even before you get to Israel, and we can help you with that. So when they get here, they have some things that they can do when the school year starts. Another thing, and this is more of a mindset that we really, feel strongly, is that you need to be an active participant, an active parent, as we say, in your school, in your kid's school. And that means that you should be in touch with the principal, with the teachers. Don't be bashful, don't be afraid. If you don't speak Hebrew and you're a little hesitant, a lot of the teachers speak English, or they might understand English and you might understand some Hebrew, and it's just a way to communicate. But what happens, rightly or wrongly, is because the school, the class sizes are bigger, it's tough for the teachers to really focus and provide attention to everybody. And so what typically happens inevitably is if parents are involved and part of the team, then the teachers are more attuned to your kids' needs and what they need, and their desires. And so it's really important to introduce yourself, be involved, but not just drop it after the first week or first month. Be involved throughout the school year. I think it will help your kid also in the support that you can provide to them. And also it's just a way to kind of keep involved. Now, the key is to do it in the right way. And so, the attitude that you bring needs to be active and involved, but don't try and push your way of doing things on teachers. Again, there's a right way and a wrong way of doing things. And, you just want to make sure that you're in touch with the teachers and you're doing it in a productive way.
Yeah, we were told many times by teachers of our children that the fact that we were in touch with them so often kind of made them focus more. We would say, hey, they're having an issue with A, B, C, so they would focus on our kids and see, because it is very difficult. Imagine you're in a classroom of 25, 30, 35 kids, and it's one teacher. So the fact that we were in touch, and also working together. The teacher felt like we were working together with the school, and I think that makes a huge difference. So even if the language is a barrier, there's a way to get around it. We can help with it. People, friends, somebody, as Afi said, there are many teachers that can speak the language. Have meetings if possible. Explain about your kids. If you see that your kids are having difficulties, don't be shy. Reach out. We are our kids' advocates, and it's very, very important to remember that. And I know that a lot of people have a harder time because of the language, but it is one of the key factors, I believe, in success for kids in the schools in Israel.
Absolutely.
Is that relationship.
I think that attitude, right, that we all have, and this is something that is really comes from you, the parents. If you have a positive attitude, and if you say, okay, you know what, today might have been a tough day, and this week might have been a tough week, but tomorrow and next week and next month will be better, and let's just kind of go with the flow and really, take the good and take the bad and just keep looking to improve it, then your kids will feed off of that. They'll sense it, they'll realize it, they'll act that way. And so when you deal with challenges, and you will face challenges, it's just the reality of it, whether you move to Israel or any other country for that matter, really just try to keep a positive attitude, try to take a deep breath and relax. And again, that's one of the roles that we really provide here, is to be that person that you can turn to with all these questions and help you deal with some of these day-to-day challenges that come up. But be positive, things will be okay. Think about it this way. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people have made Aliyah over the years, and many of them are still here and are happy and successful. And there's no reason why you can't follow that same path. You just want to make sure you have the right approach.
Then reality is not the challenges, whether you make Aliyah or whether you stay wherever you are. Life is full of challenges. So just to keep that in mind.
Right. Okay. Laura, I'm going to hand it over to you now to talk about Olim Advisors and how we can help everybody.
So we get this question a lot from people. Who are Olim Advisors? How are we different from the organizations that help people make Aliyah? So I'll explain in a few minutes actually what we do and how we help. We offer a very personalized service to each one of our clients based on their needs, based on what they're looking for. From the minute that they sign up for whatever package they decide to, we brainstorm about communities, about housing, about healthcare, schooling, cars, rentals, any number of questions that they come up with, whatever they specifically are asking, we will research for them. We will actually plan a personalized pilot trip if they want, set up meetings for them in schools with real estate agents in different communities, so they really get a sense of Israel and the different communities and what they're looking for. And then once they actually get here to Israel, we are with them. We go with them to the bank physically, and we go with them, set up the appointment at the Ministry of Absorption, and we go with them. We tell them exactly what they need to bring, where they need to go. We meet them there. We translate. Many times people do not speak English in some of these offices. We translate for them. We explain everything, and then we continue on. After 3 months, we make the appointment in the Ministry of Interior, and we go with our clients. We set up the appointment, we go with them, we make sure that they know what documents they need to bring. If anything comes up, we have contacts in the different government offices to cut through the red tape, which happens quite often. And then from there, we help with things like, as they land, we have internet set up for them. So someone is knocking at the door, technician is knocking at the door the day they land or the day after they land, and setting up internet for them. We have the utilities all set up in their name, so they're not paying for previous renters that were living there before them. We help set up automatic payments so that they don't have to go to the post office every month or 2 months and pay their electric bill or their gas bill. And then we're there to answer every single question about anything at all. A client that's had a baby, what to do, somebody that needs to make a doctor's appointment, a dentist appointment, has this bill been paid, how do you buy a car, what do you do, anything and everything, schooling. We are there for either 6 months after the Aliyah or 12 months after the Aliyah to really follow them and guide them and make sure that they feel like someone is with them. And we see it from our clients. We see how they feel relieved and comforted and so much less overwhelmed because they have someone with them all along this way. And many people say, well, we have friends here, we have family here, but we don't want to burden them. They're busy, they have their own family, their own lives. They don't have the same connections that you may have with the different government offices. And that's where we come in. So,
but also we have, we speak to a lot of people that say that they have family in Israel or friends in Israel that can help them. And one thing to keep in mind is that this is time consuming, and a lot of people that do sign up with us that have these friends and family sign up with us because they don't want to burden their friends and family, or they realize that their contacts just don't have the time or the experience. And so that's really something that I think makes a big difference to people, is that when they get here, they really can settle in and adjust and acclimate pretty quickly. And for the parents, for the kids, this is really makes a world of difference. And I think that positive first week, first month really makes a difference in the whole Aliyah process.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Everyone's so overwhelmed when they get here, and just to know that you have someone with you is the difference. It's just a world of difference. People are just asking about questions. So yes, if you want to ask a question, you can write it in the chat box, and we will go over it in a few minutes and answer as many as we can.
Right. Okay. So just there's a few specific discounts that we wanted to share with you that I think, again, we're mindful of the cost of making Aliyah, and especially during these times of Corona and the impact that it has financially on people. And so one thing is that we want to help as well. We want to do a little bit to help. And so anybody that signs up for our services between now and the June 13th, they'll get 10% discount. And the price really depends on the package. So it's really, based on everybody's situation, there's a different price. And so we're happy to talk to you about pricing on a one-on-one basis, and you can contact us and we can let you know. But if you sign up for either our VIP package or the all-inclusive, we'll give you a 10% discount if you sign up by June 13th. The other discount is from one of our partners, KEF International. They're one of the shipping companies that really has a wonderful reputation. They're based here in Israel, and they help many people every year. They also recently they did a webinar that just goes over information about the whole shipping process, and I'll just go ahead and drop it here in the chat so you can see. And again, we'll send it out here as a recording, so have it as well. But KEF put together a very informative webinar that you should take a look at when you get a chance and really learn from that. The other one is the mortgage broker, and I mentioned to you that we work with a specific company, and they've offered to give our clients 15 to 20% discount, which is really, can be a good, amount of money to clients that we refer to them. Again, they want to help people, and so this is something that you can take advantage of. And then the last discount is through our partner, the appliance store that we mentioned earlier. It was started by an Aliyah Chadash who really wants to give back to Olim. And so he's willing to give a discount to people that we refer to him. Of course, it depends on what you end up buying, and that will impact the discount rate. But we can talk about this, and you can contact us, and we can share that information. So there's just a number of ways that you can save money, and we really strongly encourage you to do so. Okay, Laura, I think that really covers most of the information. What I'll do now is we'll start answering some of the questions, and I'll also put up our contact information here on the slide so you can see it here. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen so you can have our contact information. Okay.
Can everyone see that?
We'll just put up here for a minute, and then I'm going to take this. I'm going to stop sharing, and then again, you have our email addresses, and we'll send this around, and we'll get back to answering the questions. Okay. So go. Yes, I saw here somebody, Laura, was asking about A1 visa, and if people can still make Aliyah here.
So let me just give. It's hard to say with the corona. I've been in touch with people from the Ministry of Interior and a Jewish agency. Things seem to be opening up. The Jewish agency is starting to do Zoom interviews now. Reach out to the Global Center. That's anything to do with the Jewish agency. Get all your paperwork in order, everything that needs to be, all the originals and the apostilles. Make sure that you have everything in order. If you're coming from North America or the UK, be in touch with Nefesh B'Nefesh. Be in touch with your consulate, and see what's going on. We don't have dates yet of when the Aliyah is going to start, but we do hear from Nefesh and we do hear from the Jewish Agency that, please God, it will be starting very soon. So that's any questions to do with that. If you have anything specific, please email us and we can check about that.
And Malka was asking here about how necessary is it to have a car. And so it really depends, Malka, on where you live. If you're living in one of the cities, then you have the public transportation. And, Israel in some regards is kind of behind the times. And now there's a new train that they just built from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv through Modi'in. And so you don't have to have a car. A lot of people do rely on transportation, but it depends on your lifestyle. It really depends on that.
I saw also a few questions about return citizens. You can go on a website for Toshavim Chozrim, and it's through Misrad HaKlita, and there's an actual process. You fill out paperwork, and that should be able to help you see what your rights are. So that's for anyone that's Toshav Chazer, returned citizen.
Okay, let's see what else we have here.
Okay, anyone that has a very specific question, they can email us. I think that's the best. Some people are writing very long things.
And people are asking how to sign up, so you can go to our website, www.olimadvisors.com, and it talks about the services, and then contact us. Let us know that you're interested, and we can go through and really, figure out what your needs are and how we can help you.
And someone's asking you about with an older, with child going into 9th or 10th grade. There are options. Today we actually spoke to one of the English-speaking schools. There are different options here. So be in touch with us and we can tell you about different ways you can go about it. Because coming with a family or a child going into high school, there definitely are challenges and things to think about. So it's definitely good to do as much research as possible.
Avi here was asking about, can you make Aliyah from Israel? And you can. Yeah, people do come on an A1 tourist visa, or they come on a tourist visa, and then they make Aliyah. I know I had a friend of mine that did that, and they weren't sure if they were going to stay here, so they came for the year, and then they decided they were going to stay, so they made Aliyah. Also, their daughter happened to go into an international school, so because they hadn't made Aliyah, that helped them, and so you can make Aliyah from Israel as well.
You definitely can, and again, all the offices are trying to do their best with everything that's going on. So be in touch with us, and we're going to do on a one-to-one basis. We will speak to Misrad HaPnim, the Ministry of Interior, as well as Jewish Agency, and try to get this done as soon as possible. Again, have the documents, all the documents that are needed. They'll be needed, whether you're making Aliyah from overseas or from here. You can be in touch with us to get a list, or be in touch with the Jewish Agency to see exactly what you need. You will definitely need all those certificates, the originals and the apostilles of everything, before you do make Aliyah, again, from both Israel or from out of Israel.
And then I see here there are a couple of questions about making advice about coming back to Israel. And I think really a lot of it, a couple of thoughts that I have. One is figure out why you left in the first place, and where you want to live now and what you like about where you are here. So for example, if you want to move to an area by the beach, if you like that, then you can do that. You want to take that into account. If you want to if you want to live in a big city, if you grew up here and lived in a big city and you want to move back to a big city, then that's something that you can do as well. You want to make sure that you're coming back for the right reasons, right? And that's an important part. I know that now, and it's quite staggering, the number of applications. I just saw an article today where the number of applications is almost 50% higher than previous years, and a lot of that's tied to Corona. And so, that's understandable. But again, you want to plan it out, right? You want to come for the right reasons. You want to plan it out.
You want to make sure that you have a plan. You just say, I want to come back. A lot of people say to us, and we say, okay, so what's your plan financially, and whether it's a family and for kids and a community that'll be suitable for you. So to make sure that if you're coming back, that it'll be a successful Aliyah or return to Israel. So it is important to really think all the steps out and to make sure that you have solutions to many of the challenges that there are by moving anywhere.
Somebody was asking here, Bora was asking about good free ways to learn Hebrew. So we talked about that briefly. There's great online shows. There's different kind of videos. There are some also programs that you can go and they just have different resources. So what I would just simply do is Google learning Hebrew, and you'll see there's a lot of free programs, a lot of free content out there that will help you. Also, another thing is reading the newspapers, so going to the local websites, right, the Israeli websites, and reading the Hebrew news is right.
Someone's saying here about pilot trips. I think it's so important to come on a pilot trip. You're right, plans do change, but it's so important to come and to look with the purpose of living here and look at what might be a good fit for you and make sense for you or your family. I think pilot trips are one of the most important things in a successful Aliyah. So if it's possible, and I realize that now for many people that are thinking about coming this summer, and if they've not come before on a pilot trip, it's more of a challenge. But if it is possible to come on a pilot trip and to try and kind of figure out more of the pieces of the puzzle, the community, the housing, to see how much housing is, whether it's rentals and purchasing, to do that. And we can definitely help do that with you and plan it out and make appointments for you and really make the short period of time that you're here on a pilot trip as useful and as efficient as possible.
We have a question here from Nino. That's what would you say the biggest challenges for Olim? And so I think it's language. I think it's language and I guess jobs, right? So that's something that we haven't really tackled in this webinar. But language is a big thing because yes, a lot of people speak English here and you can get by, but if you can speak Hebrew, it will help you, just kind of acclimate, or help you get a job, or help you in a number of different ways. So language, culture is other things, just realizing it's a different culture. And then, and then coming, finding a job and trying to do as much research beforehand, because most employers won't hire you until you get to Israel. So you can do a lot of the legwork, you can get a sense of what the opportunities are. And, Israel's an amazing country. There's a lot of opportunities. Even now with Corona, there's, Microsoft just announced they're hiring 200 people. There's companies that are hiring. There's ad tech, there's high tech, there's a lot of companies. You can become an English teacher. There's a lot of opportunities there. So job is an important one.
I just want to mention one last point as we if you're making Aliyah and you have special needs kids, be in touch with us. We do research on a client-to-client basis. We sit in on hearings, we advocate, we help. So definitely be in touch. Tell us more details and we can see how we can help.
Right. Somebody's asking for our contact information again, so we'll put it up. We'll talk for another 5 minutes or so, answer questions. We apologize that we can't get to everybody, but in the interest of time, we'll put up the contact information as well, and then we're going to send out a recording to everybody after.
I also see people asking about different languages. So in the meantime, we do overall help people that speak English. If you're coming from a different country and you do speak English and you can communicate in English, we'll be happy to help you. So definitely be in touch, email us, send us a WhatsApp, and we can set up a time to speak to you and help you as much as we can.
And I see that Moise is asking here about areas that are more suitable for New York Olim. And so it's a good question, and it depends really on what you're looking for. If you want to be more around the Anglo community, then there's a few main kind of center communities. You have Jerusalem, you have Modi'in, you have Ramat Bet Shemesh, you have Ra'anana, you have Efrat. Tel Aviv, of course, has a lot of English speakers.
Hubs where a lot of Olim are.
Right. So, those are the big ones. Now, if you want to go up north, there's Nahariya, for example, which is beautiful, and there's more and more English speakers that are moving to there. You can go down Beersheba, where there's also pockets of right in Haifa. So, Moise, what I recommend is let's just be in touch, and we can talk to you specifically about your situation and what you're looking for.
I'm just wanting to say again, I'm going to send recordings, so people that are asking about our contact information, it will be on there. So if you missed anything, you can hear it again and ask us any questions that you do have.
Glenn is asking about questions for learning differences, different schools with programs, and they are, there's some wonderful programs, and we can help you with that research. We'll need to understand exactly what you're looking for, but they're really very progressive schools. They're schools that have a lot of great programs, and so, we can definitely, help you once we get a little bit more information, Glenn.
And people are also asking making Aliyah to all different parts of Israel. So we have clients up in Haifa and Aliyah and down to Beersheba and Yerushalayim and Tel Aviv and all different areas, and Rishon LeZion and Rehovot, and the main, obviously, that they're the big hubs of Ra'anana and Bet Shemesh, Ramat Bet Shemesh and Modi'in. So definitely we have clients all over the country, and we do help everyone no matter where they want to go to.
That's Marina asking here about being an OT, and my wife actually happens to be an OT. We were living in New Jersey, and she was actually working in New York for a while. And she found a phenomenal opportunity where she actually gives OT to kids who are homeschooled. And so she's working through an agency in the States, and she does it here, and she gets paid better. And so we can definitely talk about that, and I can introduce you to her and she can share some information. But you can do that. If you wanted to practice here in Israel, you would need to get licensed, but there are opportunities where you can do things remotely that might work for you.
Okay, and then Sherry, about supplemental health insurance. So if you mean supplemental health under the national health care, yes, you can get that if you're a senior citizen. With the private insurance, that depends on the age. But in the national health care, everyone is covered, and you can get the highest level if you want. You can get all different levels, no matter what age you are, whatever pre-existing conditions you have. So we will have a webinar again in a few weeks because people are asking a lot of questions about healthcare. But yes, you can get extra supplemental healthcare if you're a senior.
We had a couple of questions here about advice for seniors, and I think a couple that come to mind. One is that we talked about transportation. So if you don't want to drive, you want to be in a place where there's transportation. The other thing is just the weather, right? And it really ranges here from very hot down in the south to much more cooler and cold up north. And so it depends on what you like. If you like the cooler temperature and weather, then being up north is probably a better idea. If you want to be down south with the hotter weather, more towards the beach, those are a couple of things to keep in mind.
I think it's great. Our clients and our seniors that come here and retire, they have a ball. They go to classes and they travel the country and they get to do so many amazing things. So it really, it depends. Like Afi said, like what are you looking for? What kind of climate? Job-wise, do you need to work or not? So be in touch with us, and we can definitely help you and guide each of you specifically.
Okay, a couple more questions here just in terms of furniture. So furniture often is more expensive. The quality is not as good. So, and appliances, although appliances have come down a lot. So now you can get good appliances that are more or less in line with the States, maybe a little bit more expensive. But again, when you factor in the shipping cost, it makes sense. And then also buying, if you do import your appliances, the warranties, you're gonna have issues. So we recommend to get appliances in Israel. And if you, unless you have some sentimental furniture or really good quality furniture, we recommend to leave all the IKEA furniture and all the, the other furniture that you might have where you are right now and just buy furniture here.
And what we've done with our clients is actually do a video like walkthrough in their homes and see what makes sense. Because if you are going to bring a shipment, if it does make sense, let's say you do have a home with great furniture, and if you know what kind of home you're moving into in Israel, and if it'll fit, then that it can be a saving. If you're paying for a shipment $6,000 or $7,000, but in it you're managing to bring bedroom furniture and living room and dining room. So it really depends on each case. And again, you can contact us and we can go over that one by one.
Okay. Well, everyone, again, it's been a pleasure talking to you and meeting you online. And we wish you, health and happiness, and really we can all get through this together. What I'm going to do now, again, is put up our slides here. So you can just, you can have our contact information, and, we apologize if we weren't able to get to everybody at the same time, get to everyone's questions, but, we do.
Email us and to WhatsApp us, and we will get back to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us. We enjoyed it, and let us know if there's other topics of interest that you want us to do other webinars on. We are going to have a webinar about healthcare, and we are going to have a webinar about shipping, and let us know if there's other things that you're interested in, and we look forward to being in touch with you. That's Lacha with you, Aliyah.
Be well.
Take care.